Awesome. Well, let's move on to we're going to put ourselves in Andrew Berry's shoes.
And by the way, sorry to cut you off, Mike, but
of course,
we'll certainly be having plenty of Deshaun Watson conversation.
Tune in tomorrow and the next day.
What's that? One of 50,000 before the season starts?
Yes. I think we got to remember that the majority of people in Cleveland, certainly myself included, even for those who don't believe me, we all want, or most of us want Deshaun Watson to succeed. Everybody wants him to play well, but I think the debate is how much has he proven?
I mean, like you said, the majority. I feel like this. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, and you don't like Deshaun Watson to the point to where you don't want to see him be successful, then you're a fool, because his success helps the Cleveland Browns become more successful.
Ultimately, yes. So there's always going to be – you don't have to like every player on your team, but you should want them to succeed. I think that's – otherwise you're not really a fan. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, speaking of players everybody likes, we're going to talk a little Nick Chubb here. There's no dissension.
No
on
debate
whether
there.
Like, don't like. Everyone is a big fan of Nick Chubb. I want you guys to put yourself in Andrew Berry's shoes. You have a list of offseason priorities. It could be 1 to 2 points long. It could be 55 points long. That doesn't matter for the discussion we're about to have here. Where does reworking and figuring out the Nick Chubb contract situation rank on your list of offseason priorities if you, Bull, G, Earl, if you guys were Andrew Berry? Where does figuring out the Nick Chubb situation rank?
Go ahead,
for you?
Earl. You go first. Start us off.
For me, it'll be third. I need an impact wide receiver. I need an impact defensive tackle. The reason why it would be third is because he's already under contract. But I'm doing everything in my power. I think his cap hit this upcoming season is 15.8. I'm doing everything in my power to rework that deal, to give him a 4-year deal, to ensure that he retires a Cleveland Brown. I think Nick Chubb is arguably the best player on this team, and I think he's one of the best people inside this entire franchise. You know, they talk about smart, like accountable and tough and hardworking and all that other stuff. He's the epitome of everything that you want and the culture change that you want in a player on a football field. Every time that you hear Andrew Berry speak about Nick Chubb, it's almost like he's talking about one of his kids, right? You know, we talk a lot about the running back position being devalued. And I've heard Andrew Berry say, certain running backs are certain running backs, but Nick Chubb is kind of the exception to that rule. I think how he's viewed in this organization is very, very high. Like, to me, like, he probably got more juice than Paul DePodesta. We all know Paul DePodesta got a lot of juice. So I will put it third on the list simply because he's already under contract. Go get me an impact wide receiver. Go get me a young stud defensive tackle. And then make sure that my running back is locked up. So for the rest of his career, we seen a running game struggle, you know, as the season went on without Nick Chubb. He's very important inside this organization and on the football field.
G?
I'm going to move with it. I like what Earl said. So, you know me, I'm an Operation Stockpile. I not only need to figure out for Nick Chubb, I need to figure out some more room so I can I want another running back. I've already decided I was looking around last night. I was fixing me some ramen noodles. Shouldn't be eating that with all that salt.
Chicken flavor?
Huh?
Chicken flavor?
Yeah, chicken flavor. And by the way, nobody can make your ramen noodles. Everybody got it different.
You know facts. Listen, facts.
Don't. My wife be like, let me make you some. No.
Don't you touch my noodles, fam.
I do that for myself. But long story short is, I need to allocate some money for not Chubb, but that running back room. Listen, I'm not into experimenting. Jerome Ford is a nice third back. He's a third back. I'm not trying to see maybe he'll get better. I need a bona fide guy to go with Nick Chubb so I could give him the carries. When Nick Chubb was good, guess who else was good? Kareem Hunt was in his prime. And that's when you saw prime Chubb when you go back to them Baker years when they did go to the playoffs, 2020. I need another running back. And by the way, I go redo his contract because the number one priority is wide receiver. So them doing that, freeing up some money, now gives me a little bit of time and energy and money to go get my wide receiver. So to me, I think it's the number one priority. I think, you know, it deserves to be the number one priority because it is Nick Chubb. He is probably the best person on your football team. And the one thing that I look at the Cleveland Browns and I look at a lot of people, and this is why I get angry sometimes. Don't look at one or two people that you may not like and say, I'm not going to support the Cleveland Browns. There is the fact that Nick Chubb is the epitome of what all of y'all posers, y'all be lying. Y'all be like, we want guys to give the football back to the referee. We don't want guys on social media. We don't want guys doing this in the club. We don't want guys showing their flaunting their. This guy does all that and above, and yet and still, the thing that irks me is, oh, he not worth $16 million? Even if they don't redo the contract. My thing is, y'all gave Jack Conklin all that doggone money, and he ain't half the person Nick Chubb is. Don't be telling me about how Nick Chubb got to give money back and Jack Conklin has been on the gravy train. He's a steak eater. Listen, Nick Chubb is a bus driver. That man, if you got to pay him the 16, we're going to find out and we're going to get it from somebody else.
Pay him the 16.
Pay him the 16. All that other stuff, don't tell me about how you champion all this. No. If that's what you respect, show the man the respect. Now you want him to give some money back because why? You made a mistake on Conklin?
I would argue that most people would agree that Jack Conklin was a mistake. I don't think there was anybody arguing for Jack Conklin getting the money that he got. Mike, here's the thing. We've talked about a lot when it comes to all sports about analytics, right? And I always said I think it's important to balance heart or gut and analytics, right? Mm-hmm. That the best teams have both working hand in hand. I don't know that that's always easy to do because sometimes those work against each other, right? The analytics will tell you that Nick Chubb is not far from going over the cliff based on traditional running backs. It will also tell you that it's insane to pay $16 million for a running back because no team has, you have that tweet, Mike?
I'll give it 1 second.
Most teams that, if you look at the Super Bowl teams, most of them, the running back takes up an extremely small percentage of their cap. I think all of them, right? Let's see this list.
You take it full. Yep, and take it full. This is from Marcus Mosier, the cap hit of the running backs of the Super Bowl winning teams since 2009.
Only the Super Bowl winners.
Correct.
Because McCaffrey was probably higher. Now, I can't read this because my eyes aren't good enough to read that small. What's the highest percentage of a Super Bowl winner in the last 15 years?
Marshawn Lynch in 2013, 6.2% of the cap.
Okay. Now, at $16 million, the cap's going to be what, about $250 next year?
I don't want to say yes.
I think it's going to be like $250. It's supposed to go up pretty high. So at $16 million, that you're talking what? That's about 6, 9, 12.
The estimated cap's $242.
$242? All right, so that's about 150. What's that?
It's 15%.
How much percent?
About 15%.
If he gets paid $16 million.
I just did 242 divided by 16, and that's 15 per 15.
Okay, so 15%. That seems crazy. Now, Christian McCaffrey probably took up about 15% of the 49ers cap, and they don't regret having him there. Nick Chubb, and I am usually, when it comes to keeping older players, I'm like, once they get old, that's it. Done. Move on. Get a young guy. Now, I have to be careful because just like I accuse people of being biased when it comes to Deshaun Watson, I'm very biased when it comes to Nick Chubb. He is my all-time favorite Browns player. He is. I don't think I've ever liked the player more that didn't play for the Bengals. And even if I include like my Bengal fandom, he's one of probably my 10, maybe 5 favorite players ever in football. That's how much I like Nick Chubb. So I have to try to leave that out of it because there's a part of me that says, you can't pay this guy $16 million. That's crazy. You can't pay any running back $16 million. It's just not worth it. Now, ultimately, I don't think I'll have to make that decision because I think Nick Chubb will understand that if the Browns did cut him, which we hope they wouldn't do, nobody's paying him $16 million.
You don't think so?
No chance. No chance. I mean, who's the last running back that got paid that kind of money? McCaffrey.
I think so, yeah.
And McCaffrey's a little younger.
Saquon got 12 to avoid the salary cap.
Saquon got 12, okay? And that was just a one-year deal. Nobody coming off the injury, like Nick Chubb might not even be ready for the start of the season.
Right.
No way he's getting paid $16 million.
We playing guards 13.
G?
I hear both y'all. I mean, Condon has been hurt plenty of times.
Let me ask you this. Now, first of all, when this is all over, I'm going to make the case that you have to keep Nick Chubb. But along the way, let me just say that if they did cut him, no other team's paying him $16 million. You know that. There's no way they're paying $16 million to a running back who's not going to be ready for the start of the season or may not.
Sometimes y'all, you can't be so transactional. This is not a transactional move. Here's my problem.
Okay, 7%.
When right.
It's a big difference.
Right.
I did the math wrong. I was trying to do it quick. I just did. It's 7%
That's not
of the cap.
crazy.
Okay.
But here's the thing. He's a reasonable dude. And as Earl said, you've got to extend this contract. So here's what I'd say to Nick Chubb. Here's what I'd say to Nick Chubb. I'm going to give you a 4-year deal. I like your now. He's probably not going to be any good by that 4th year, but I'm going to give him a 4-year deal. I'm going to guarantee him the first 2 years. Guaranteed money the first 2 years, in which he will make he'll get $12 million guaranteed, and then another $4 million that he can likely make as long as he's healthy. Okay. Right? I'm making the whole contract roughly $24 million over 4 years. Now you may say, well, that's not enough. He's a great back. He's been a great back. I still think he can be. I would build in incentives there where, hey, Nick Chubb stays healthy, has a great season, wins rushing title, we can make more money and more money. But in terms of guarantees, I would guarantee him $12 million over 2 years with incentive to make more the next 2 years. And then I tack on 2 years on the contract beyond that we will see not guaranteed. And I think he would take it. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I think he would take it because Nick Chubb loves playing for the Browns. And I think he sees that as good as he is, and this now you're right, there's part of me that's like, this team cannot not have Nick Chubb. I cannot envision a scenario, I don't want to envision a scenario where Nick Chubb is on this roster. I believe he has to be here. And I think the Browns feel that way, which is why ultimately maybe he'll get a little more money than that. But Nick Chubb is the ultimate team guy. He knows what the running back market looks like. Running backs on the free agent market get nothing. And as great as he is, that injury is a big factor. And he's 8?
He's 28.
28.
At 28, coming off an injury, nobody's paying him big guaranteed money. I'm saying the Browns will guarantee him 2 years. At a lesser money, but they guarantee him 2 years. That would be good. And then I put incentives in there where maybe he can make as much as $20 million over the next year.
Here's the thing that I think the Browns have to get to. We give and we sit here and we praise these other teams. We praise the Ravens. We praise the Steelers. We talk about how all these people, the Miami Heat, have a culture. The Cleveland Browns have been jokes for the most part of 40 years.
Yes.
For me, I even thought about it when I went home. Kevin Stefanski won a Coach of the Year again. That's 2 in 4 years. Why ain't he got a contract?
There was a report over the last few days, I don't know how much you guys talked about it, that he's going to get one, but he hasn't.
But here's how you show people respect and how you show them that you are valued. Coach of the Year, boom, the money on the table. No waiting. We got a protocol. We do it like this. No. When I look at the Ravens, Ray Lewis played for one team.
Right.
Ed Reed played for one team.
Right.
When they got Jonathan Ogden, he was their tackle forever. And they made sure that at the end of their career, they knew where they were. And that builds culture. That builds who you are. Now when free agents come, they say, look, this is how we treat our family members. When you are a generational type player, we respect what you gave to the team. We respect what you did. And now teams value you. Free agents will say, well, look, I might take a little less to go play for the Browns because of the way they treat their people.
Look at running back, right? Like Derrick Henry's been a great player. He's probably going to play for another team next year.
Derrick Henry ain't Chubb.
No, listen.
Andrew Berry made that very clear, though. He don't look at Nick Chubb like everybody else look at the running back position.
You can't take what he says in a press conference as like, well, that's a fact.
I can only take what he say on face value.
Well,
I can't twist his words. He said what he said. That's all I can go off of.
It's meaningless. He's not. If he was thinking about cutting Nick Chubb, would he admit it now?
I don't know.
Of course, no, he's not going to admit that.
It's one of them things where you cannot afford to see Nick Chubb in another jersey.
Listen, I'm not arguing. My argument is not to cut Nick Chubb. I can't cut Nick Chubb. He has to be on this team. But you're not going to pay him $16 million. So they got to find. That's up to them.
Right.
That's up to them. They got to figure out the money. I think Nick Chubb will be here. I think they find the money. In the end, if I had to pay him $16 million, I don't think he's actually getting paid $16 million. I think that's just a cap hit, right?
I think what Bull is saying is strictly from a football player standpoint. I think where me and G is coming from, let's take the football and let's add that with who Nick Chubb is, the man,
well,
and how important he is to the organization. And so for that reason, it's like,
well, Earl, we're all
he got to call
the
his
same
own shot.
thing.
Yeah, we all saying the same thing, but
I'm saying if it wasn't for that stuff, I would cut him probably. If he wasn't Nick Chubb, if he was just random running back,
right,
who had the same career, but he wasn't this guy, I'd say let's just move on and find a new guy. But because he's Nick Chubb, I got to find a way to keep him, even if I have to overpay him a little.
The Browns are a little unorthodox, right? Like when they looked at the way they evaluate things, people didn't like that Njoku deal a couple of years ago.
That's true, and that was
and it turned out to be okay, right? They're paying Amari Cooper a lot of money.
Yeah.
People will say, why would you pay Amari Cooper? Like, y'all got to have to find
well, they absorbed that contract.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That came with him.
So, but here's the thing. Yeah. But people was talking about that last year. They got to figure out something. Yeah. And then Amari Cooper was like, no, I'm the all-time leading receiver in the game. You're not
because they're going to be having the same conversation about Amari. I think Amari's cap hit is somewhere around $20 million.
I don't want to debate about how much they should pay him. Ultimately, that's up to the Browns to figure out. I think we're all in agreement. You got to have Nick Chubb.
Got to have him on his roster.
And I would make that the first priority only because I can deal with that now.
Right.
Like, I don't have to wait. Getting a wide receiver or, as you suggested, another defensive lineman, I can't do that for another month. I can deal with Nick Chubb right now. I can restructure his contract. I can figure out a way. And I think if you can guarantee Nick Chubb money for 2 years, maybe even 3, even if it's less money per year, it makes sense for all sides.
What if Andrew Berry, I ain't restructuring nothing, Tomas restructured?
To what?
Until his contract is done.
Oh, yeah.
What if he's sitting there I ain't doing nothing else?
Well, Deshaun Watson.
Tomas is taken care of.
Deshaun Watson can, come out. Yeah, I think Tom Brady had really great publicity when he did this. Tom Brady, as well as Michael Jordan, as well as LeBron James, have been the best people in their sport by a landslide. They're up here, everybody else down here. But you know what they never were? They were never the highest paid people in the game. Jordan played 1 year for $30 million, but he was never the highest paid. LeBron talks about it all the time. I could have got a jillion dollars, whatever the case may be. Deshaun Watson, he could come out and be like, look, we're going to make sure that we're going to keep our guys and we're going to get some more. You know how we're going to guarantee that? I don't care. They got to kick the can down the road 70 years and give me the Bobby Bonilla deal. We need to have the Shohei Ohtani. We need that money to get people.
Well, I mean, listen, I've been very critical of Jimmy Haslam, in my opinion, deservedly so. But the one thing I credit him for is he spends, right?
Yes.
If it wasn't for that, there'd be nothing good about him. But the Browns, forget the cap, because the Browns actually have cap room. They won't for next year. They'll have to do some things. But in terms of money spent, because there's a difference between money spent and cap hit.
Yes.
Right? Because all these things they do. In terms of money spent on the roster, I believe the Browns actually spent the most money on their roster in 2023, right?
That is a fact.
And I think they're probably going to be that way in 24 also.
If they restructure the deals, they have to pay it up front. So I can't imagine all the restructures upcoming,
so
especially Watson and some other guys.
As long as you're willing to continue to kick the can down the road, there is a lot of flexibility with the cap. But that doesn't necessarily mean you want to pay every guy over the top. But it does mean there's still flexibility to do all these things.
I'm just thankful I got an owner who don't care nothing about writing that type of check, right? As long as Jimmy Haslam is willing to write the check for the Cleveland Browns to be competitive and have a chance to win the Super Bowl, then to me, he a good owner. That's just me.
Well, that's just me. He got to overwrite them checks.
That's just my opinion.
Listen, I think he's a terrible owner, but we're not. We'll debate that another day because just spending money doesn't make you good.
No, but you give.
The Dodgers have spent the most money. They've won one World Series in 40 years.
All I'm saying is,
that was in a COVID year.
He gives everybody in this building everything that they need to go be successful.
No, he doesn't.
From a financial standpoint.
Only from a financial
standpoint. Just do that
part.
But
he does a lot of things to hurt them.
Here's the way I
take the bad with the good.
Here's why. Listen,
why do you have to have the bad? Can't you just have the good?
I would give.
Not according to 3-6 Mafia.
I would give. I don't got no problem giving my money to go support the Browns if financially they're like, look, we are willing to put, for the Dodgers. Look, there's a reason why they can get the cable deal they can get, right? Mm-hmm. Because It's the Dodgers. And every single year, even if we don't win, they are doing everything in their pocketbooks to make sure that you're never going to say the Dodgers roster is lacking. They may not get it done in the end, but they ain't lacking. And the fact that the Browns, I'll give it to them. When you got your offensive line and all of them is making a shout out to the guards and tackle. I mean, they picked Jed Wills up 5th year. They gave Conklin a new deal. Your guards is getting 12, 13 apiece. They signed Poachage.
Yeah.
We can't hate on that.
They're spending a boatload of money there. Yeah. There's no doubt. There's no complaint with the money spent. But I think in the end, we're all in agreement, Mike. Nick Chubb has to be on this team. Nobody wants to see him in another uniform.
Yeah, it would not be good.
I would rather as much as I love Myles Garrett, if you said, okay, only one of those two guys, Myles Garrett or Nick Chubb, can spend their whole career in Browns uniform, who would you take? I would take Nick Chubb. As much as I love Myles Garrett, too.
I ain't going to lie, I'm taking Nick Chubb.
Hey, man.
That's a tough one for you, G.
I ain't even going to hold you.
Man, listen, y'all, man, look, can we have both?
We can, but I'm putting you in a tough spot here, in a bad scenario. You had to choose.
I think Myles Garrett going to retire early. So, for real. I think he's
going to just go play with dinosaurs.
Weird. He going to become a scientist or something. He ain't going to play. You ain't going to see Myles Garrett break down.
I said play with dinosaurs as if dinosaurs still exist, by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
but by the way, but does everybody know, I think there's a lot of dumb people out there, that dinosaurs and humans never coexisted? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, dinosaurs were...
On Jurassic Park,
I bet you there's a lot of people that don't know that, don't believe it.
Did you know that during the same time there was 3 or 4 species of homogeneous primates that walked Earth at the same time? Our cousins.
Some were early cousins.
Early cousins. Some with bigger brains, and we just outlived them.
And the ones with the small brains, they're living down in Alabama.
I'm laughing at my boys. Hey, no, seriously though, they did.
Homo erectus.
I said on Jurassic Park they did.
That's true. On Jurassic Park, they brought the dinosaurs back.
Well, Jurassic Park was based off a real story, so the movies have never lied before. Just like GM and press conferences have never
by the
lied.
way, since they said I was being reverse racist in the chat, but I am gonna say some reverse racist stuff. Black people ain't bringing the dinosaurs back. That was you guys.
White people are
we was sitting there like, this is a bad idea.
So I'll be going to therapy.
Me, black people cannot be racist, but that's the.
I'll be going to therapy like him, and my therapist told me I need to stop reading the chat.
You for real?
Yeah. It's very unhealthy. Social media is very bad for your mental health.
Well, sometimes I just got enough energy for the chat. Sometimes
What did they call you a reverse racist for?
I think because they said that Jack Conklin was because he is a Caucasian that he didn't deserve his money, but since Nick Chubb was black, he deserved his money.
Well, Nick Chubb deserves his money more than Jack Conklin. It has zero to do with their race.
Right. I didn't know where that came from.
But we all do see race. Don't say you don't see race because we figured you out.
You figured
but
out.
I don't think you brought that up from a white-black standpoint.
No.
I can't speak for you. But I would say my only argument to that would be that I don't think anybody thought that was a good contract either. I mean, I think I think most of the people saying you can't pay Nick Chubb that money. There were a lot more people saying you can't pay Jack Conklin that money.
Like my grandmother used to say, that you spending good money after bad.
That's right. That's
All right, guys.